A mild week with a few rain chances, and then a potential weekend snowstorm. Let's break it down. All right. So I want to cover a few things about this week first, tonight and this week, before we get into the weekend snowstorm. So here's sort of a current look. This is our storm that came through the other day. It turned into kind of a monster out there off Newfoundland. But you can make out this high pressure here. See that anticyclonic, clockwise flow there from the high. So that's bringing flow in from the south as an overall ridge builds in for the eastern U.S. These next few days. And let's look at a little bit of future guidance. So you see these red lines. These are the 500 millibar height lines. You'll see them advancing from southwest to northeast through Jersey, right? That means you have the warmth coming in. And this is a little bit of rain that we're looking at Wednesday night into Thursday. Nothing crazy. Of course, we'll take any drops we can with the drought that's ongoing. But a little bit of light rain Wednesday night into Thursday night, a little break Thursday, and then Friday, a little bit more rain. Now, on Friday, you could see the extreme North Jersey possibly change over to some freezing rain or sleet or something like that. Mostly a wintry mix, though, likely not snow. Most of Jersey is rain also on Friday. And then that clears out and sets the stage for the storm. And we'll sort of just take a pause here. As far as tonight goes, the National Weather Service has issued a dense fog advisory. So with those warmer temperatures moving in, remember those warmer temperatures have their own dew point involved in that air mass. So as that moves into a colder air mass like what's over us right now, the temperatures are rapidly brought down to that dew point and condensation occurs. So that's why we're going to see some pretty dense fog tonight overnight into tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning. So use a little extra caution if you're out traveling tonight or tomorrow morning. Visibility could be a little reduced. Another thing about this storm, we have a lot of time here. This thing's not starting until Sunday at the earliest. It's Tuesday night right now. There's a lot of time for things to change, for models to pick up on things that they're not seeing now, factoring them in and changing the outcome of this solution. Especially once we get into the time frame where the mesoscale models get involved, like the NAM, the HER, and the RGEM. We've been through this before from this range where something's modeled very strong 4 or 5 days away, and sometimes it drops off to nothing. Sometimes it changes. Think of being on a balance beam, right? We got to walk this balance beam for about 4 or 5 days and hold the status quo. So that's a tall drink for some people, right? And same thing goes with model guidance. So sometimes being on the bullseye, 4 or 5 days out is not the best thing, given the nature of change in this whole chaotic sea of atmospheric fluids. So bottom line, we have time. This is not a slam dunk snowstorm by any means. I'm not telling you to go buy your groceries yet, or not even close to using the K word. So I just want to set those expectations right off the bat. Now let's look at some upper level stuff. So again, we identified this signal, last week just by looking at teleconnections. We saw that the negative, the North Atlantic oscillation was transitioning from negative to positive around the 22nd, 23rd of February. That's usually a weak storm signal in itself. You have the PNA, Pacific North American oscillation, sort of peaked. It didn't go positive, but there was a strong upward trend, less negative, more towards neutral, for a little transient spike there around the 22nd, 23rd. And then to the west of the PNA region, you have the Eastern Pacific oscillation that also responded with a negative transient spike. So, what that tells us is that around that period, we're going to be looking at something like this, where you have a ridge. And notice the axis of that ridge is not forward like the one was with that other system. It's leaning back a little bit. And because that leans back, so does the trough axis of the storm trough, right? You have here's your Eastern Pacific, upper low, and then even upstream of that, you have a strong ridge. But the main players here is going to be the Western U.S. ridge and this trough here in the east. And what we also have is a pseudo block. We don't really have a solid north. A solid block over Greenland, a negative NAO. We do not have that in this case. If I show you, I mean, it's like lower heights over Greenland, really. But where the block comes in is here. This low right here. So it's known as a 50-50 low, because 50 north, 50 west, in the coordinate system is somewhere around here. So that upper level energy is, has spin like this. Then you have a ridge right here that has spin like this. So you end up having a downwards blocking force, right, like this. And what that does is it just kind of slows the surface low down. It's going to be tracking something like this. It slows this low down so it can deepen earlier and further west, as opposed to something that just sped out to sea, right? So we have a pseudo block in the form of a 50-50 low and that little ridge up there. That's important, because otherwise this would be a progressive system that sails out to sea with maybe snow showers only. So that's the idea on the GFS, right? Now, I also want to point out on the GFS two things that the Euro is not doing, but the GFS is. So, we get to this point, you see this upper low digging, and you see a little bit of a height response over Jersey, right? So you have more of a little meridional amp up right there. And notice that this area of lower heights and this area of lower heights stay separated, right? As we go through this, they stay separated. They never connect. And notice that this ridge is separated from this ridge. So now let's go and look at the European upper level look. Now this, it's different, okay? We still get to the point here where we have our like ridge and trough, but you see this ridge and this ridge are connected by a ridge bridge. And then these heights here, these lower heights are also connected. So this extra ridging here squashes everything south and makes it a little bit more progressive on the southern stream. That allows the low to kick out a little bit more. And that's what the Euro's doing right now. Because if we go and look at the GFS, right, here's a GFS where those players are separated. The surface low spawns right here off the southern central outer banks, right? It gets to 102, but you can see in blue here is the upper low. So this upper low eventually pulls that low back closer and tucks it into the coast, and then we get the crippling snowstorm. I mean, that is a massive snowstorm. This GFS run from AT&Z today dumped like 30 inches on South Jersey. I don't think that's going to be the case, but let's just call this a statewide major snowstorm for New Jersey on the GFS. Now, the Canadian is very similar in the upper levels and therefore similar at the lower levels. The low is tucked in, and Jersey just gets smacked with snow, right? So, the GFS and the Canadian are very much on board. They have been since yesterday. The GFS sniffed this out first about 2 days ago. The European, however, with this upper level look, is suggesting that different height setup with the ridge bridge and the lower heights bridging up. So what you get here, you have this southern stream low, it forms, but it's way out here. It's disconnected. It's a disconnected solution. And you end up just with northern stream showers over New Jersey only. I mean, that still might produce like a, coating to a light accumulation, but it's not the wrap up that you're seeing here on the Canadian and the GFS. So there's still some disagreement here. And the European, it's showing this solution, but what jumps out at me is if we go and look at the European ensembles and look at the actual members of all the different 50 runs, right? there's a lot of members that are still tucked here, right? The mean average might be out here, which is what it's focusing on for the operational run, but there's a lot of members still here in the European ensemble package that could. It tells me that low could be more tucked here, like the Canadian and the GFS. So this is where we're at from this range. I would expect your typical windshield wiper effect thing, where some storms might be too warm, right? They go in, they may maybe cut too much and bring a little bit of rain into southeast Jersey, and it's more of a southeast PA through North Jersey jackpot. You might see that solution. Um, you might also see additional hits, where it's a straight up KABOOM blizzard in Jersey, but you might also see more of this European solution that keeps things, a little progressive, a little further out to sea with just a lighter interaction. So we still have a wide range of possibilities between snow showers and a major winter storm, and that's sort of what I highlighted in today's article. We're going to narrow our range of possibilities a little bit as we get each day closer to this. It's the most responsible thing to do, is to make the public aware of everything that's possible and how the possibilities are narrowing as we approach. So that's how we're going to take this one. But other than that, I mean, we have time. It's probably going to be Thursday at the earliest when we go storm versus no storm on this. So that leaves 2 more days of just model run to model run analysis. We're doing it in the KABOOM Club. We're every model run that comes by, I'm throwing up the images and showing you what's happened, going above and beyond this public delivery. But it's going to be Thursday probably for a storm versus no storm decision. I doubt we'd have any type of snow impact maps out before Friday. Friday probably. Ideally, it would be like a first call Friday, a second call Saturday, and then maybe Sunday morning a final tweak if we see something overnight on the meso models before this system kicks off. The timing of this system has been Sunday into Monday. Some models a little earlier, starting Sunday morning and sort of fizzling out Monday morning. Some starting, Saturday night into most of Monday. So we're still rocking back and forth between the general Sunday, Monday, February 22nd, 23rd period. We will narrow that down and forecast that accordingly, the timing as we closer approach. So that's pretty much it. It's a foggy night tonight, a milder week. We're going to reach 40s, maybe 50s, and we're going to sort of just gradually build up until Saturday will probably be the warmest we're going to be Saturday morning when that rain moves through, and then we're going to drop in temperatures. So, Saturday overnight into Sunday morning, we'll have a significant temp drop. So that Sunday forward is going to be like highs in the lower 30s type thing. Lows well below freezing again, and it looks to stay that way through at least mid next week, especially if we have a massive snowpack on the ground again. But that's pretty much what to expect. We'll have another article out tomorrow and a video tomorrow night just to see where we are. But otherwise, I'm Jonathan Carr, and everybody have a great rest of your Tuesday evening. Be safe.